I opened a group on Facebook called Emily in Paris Sucks, and actually it sucks. It's a soap opera wrapped up in a fancy paper. It's sex in the city disguised as a cultural thing. It's Sex in the City. No matter, I found out it's the same author. It's kind of an idiocracy word. If you've seen the movie Idiocracy, you know what I'm talking about. It's a word where America is all over the place. Everybody speaks English. The text of the French speakers had been written by native English speakers. I can't tell that. I have been in languages for 40 years. I'm into languages. I've been learning and teaching languages for 25 years. I know what I'm talking about. People have hard time learning a foreign language with a so-called new fangled method that do not work. At least the method that are used in the language school, but the goal is not really teaching languages. Teaching languages is making the person who pays having the impression he's making headway and being up to pay for another course. That's the sorry state of language teaching and learning. But with the new, I'm all against AI, the way it's used, but with AI, many people will, if you don't offer something that's irreplaceable by other means, you're going to be replaced anyway. So the whole thing about she being in Paris and not learning, I used to speak French very fluently, almost on a native level, and I've been seeing people learning language. If you are in a place, everybody around you speaks the language, and French is not different from English. I mean, one of the easiest languages for English speaker. You're going to learn. You cannot, after months, say bonjour. Bonjour becomes bonjour, something like that. She have no clue when people speak French. That could be the case if you've never been exposed to the French language. You've been living there for months. She was attending a French course with no results whatsoever, rather than say some words. People in every situation tend to speak English, even in some extreme situation where there was no reason whatsoever to speak English. They give a patina of French speaking because the show is basically geared towards English speakers. The funny thing that's dubbed in Italian, this problem doesn't exist. Everybody speaks Italian. I don't know. The rare moment I watched it. I should watch it in Italian. But at least you live in a fancy world where, okay, when I see Western movies dubbed in Italian, I forget they are not supposed to speak Italian. Every dubbed movie is like that. So keeping this veil of reality that is completely out of place doesn't make any sense. So linguistically is pure crap. French people have a master completed grammar, the idioms, have a huge vocabulary and they speak like native speakers. That doesn't happen. People would speak like that if they are French speakers who lived in an English-speaking country for more than 10 or 15 years. I don't understand why French people speak such good English. Obviously, actors are not native speakers of English and they retain an accent. Not so much, but they have. And she looks like, really, I don't want to be mean, but a normal person wouldn't be like this. Even the worst American speaker. Why should everybody speak English when there's just one bloody English speaker? Second thing, a friend of hers comes, she's bilingual and she speaks very good French, and the other person is not supposed to be bilingual because he's a French chef, cook. And there are moments where they speak, and between the two of them, and they use the two of them speak, and they use English. It doesn't make any sense, because if one of the two is completely bilingual, and you are in France, and one of the two speaks English and French, you would use French. French is a major language. It's not a colony of, okay, and this show looks like a colony of the United States. You're not in Kazakhstan under Soviet Union and you use Russian every time, because it's just, even now they use Russian is the language of the, the bigger dominant language. That's not the case in France, or in France as you want. Stories, they live in a la la land where there's no poverty, there's no rubbish on the streets, there are no drug addicts. Everybody, she dresses like crazy with this garish, extremely colorful, crazy outfits that she changes every time she goes to the toilet. It's crazy. She has friends, and she always speaks English in France. I already spoke about that. And she's completely crazy. This is completely crazy. Her sexual life is, she doesn't have a boyfriend for a long, and then she meets someone, has sex the same day. I mean, come on, doesn't make any sense at all. And then in Rome, there's an episode, I see one of the episodes, in Rome, and I live in Rome. That's not Rome. That's the idea that Americans have Rome, and Paris is the idea of Americans have of Paris. This show is lives in a country in a world that doesn't exist, in a world where some people are smart enough to be almost perfectly bilingual in English, and another person is